This is Matt Brainerd, Executive Director of Look Ahead America. Several months ago, we announced the J6 Question Project, where we would ask our volunteers to pursue presidential candidates on the trail and ask them the question, what are you going to do about the January 6 political prisoners, especially those who've not been charged with any violence? Here on the day of the Iowa caucus, we've assembled the answers from all of the remaining candidates in the race, and we're happy to share them with you. I'm not going to share my opinion about any of these answers, but I encourage you to approach them with great scrutiny. Consider how well they seem to know the question and the subject matter, and how determined they are to set right one of the greatest injustices in our country's history, and that is the over-prosecution and disparate treatment of so many people who did not engage in any violence on January 6th, yet have been treated as if they're Al-Qaeda terrorists. I want to say how grateful I am to all of the volunteers who helped us collect this footage. Keep in mind, they're not professional videographers, and this is recorded on cell phones. But what really matters isn't the quality of the video or the audio, but the answers to the question. So to get us started, I'd like to first play the video we have of South Carolina Governor and former diplomat Nikki Haley.
I'm a volunteer for Look Ahead America, and I want to know what you're going to do for January 6 political prisoners, especially those who've not been charged with any violent acts.
So when it comes to January 6th, I'll tell you, President Trump said it was a beautiful day. I think it was a terrible day. But the reality is, you had a lot of people, good people, who went there to support him that meant no harm. And then you had other people who went in there and broke the law. This should be very cut and dry. If you didn't break the law, you should not be held accountable for anything. If you did break the law, whether you broke in or whether you injured someone or damaged property, you should pay the price. But there's no reason to hold people without telling them what they've done. So any of them that are sitting in limbo, either process them quickly and give them a hearing, or leave it alone. But you can't, that's the one thing we've always wanted in this country. If you are charged, you have the right to defend yourself. We want to make sure that happens. But you can't hold people and not let them have a hearing. So I know that there's a handful of people that they say have not had a hearing. I think they should have a hearing. I think they should have their day in court. If they committed a crime, I think they should be held accountable. If they didn't commit a crime, I think they should be let go.
Next, let's hear from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Right here, I'm a volunteer for Look Ahead America, and I want to know what you're going to do for the January 6 political prisoners, especially those who have not been charged with any violent acts.
Yeah, so I think we have a weaponized DOJ. I think you have that being used in ways where they go after people they don't like and factions of society they don't like. And so what you do is you say, we need one standard of justice in this country. If you're going after somebody who was nonviolent for, quote, trespassing, but then you won't prosecute a violent BLM rioter, well, how do you explain that discrepancy? So when I come in, we're going to do one standard of justice for everybody. We'll use Article 2 power, including pardons and clemency as people were mistreated. We're going to have people that can apply, and anyone that demonstrates that type of mistreatment, we would want to make sure that we even the scales of justice. But beyond that, too, we're going to clean house at the DOJ and the FBI. I mean, we will end the weaponization of the government. Because it's wrong how they've treated, how they've abused their power, and it's something that you need a president that understands how to deal with this, that's going to be focused and disciplined, and that's going to be able to put the right people in place.
Next up, and he is still in the race according to my latest research, Governor Asa Hutchinson.
I'm a volunteer reporter with Look Ahead America, and I was just wondering, what would you do for the J6ers if you were to become president?
Well, I would handle any pardon applications just as I did as governor, which I would look at them individually. I would make sure that they were reviewed by my team, and they would look at it in terms of fairness, in terms of justice and equal treatment, and when appropriate in terms of mercy. So each of them would be looked at individually.
Next up, let's hear from entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy.
I'm a volunteer for Look Ahead America, and I want to know what you're doing for the January 6th political prisoners, especially those who have not been charged with any violent acts.
That's a constitutional flagrant violation. I have said that on day one. See, most presidents wait till their last day in office to do this. They're cowards. You should be held accountable for your decisions and face criticism if you want, but do the right thing. I will deliver every peaceful J6 protester a pardon on January 20th, 2025. And those who have been held without actual trial or held without even being charged deserve recompense from a government that has wronged them.
Now, it really wasn't possible for any of our volunteers to get the opportunity to ask former President Trump this question, because any time volunteers or activists have had the chance to ask a question, there's been really long lines. It's really tough because there's just massive crowds, unlike any other presidential candidate running right now. However, the candidate did answer the question to a media reporter, so we're going to sort of clip that and show you his response.
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one, because a couple of them probably they got out of control. But, you know, when you look at Antifa, what they've done to Portland, and if you look at Antifa, look at what they've done to Minneapolis and so many other places. Look at what they did to Seattle and BLM. Many people were killed. These people, I'm not trying to justify anything, but you have two standards of justice in this country, and what they've done, and I love that question, because what they've done to so many people is nothing. And then what they've done to these people, they've persecuted these people. And yeah, my answer is I am most likely, if I get in, I will most likely, I would say it will be a large portion of them, you know.
While many of these answers might have lifted your hearts and hopes and others left you a little disappointed, I want to point out something very important. Not a single one of these candidates said, just lock them up and throw away the key, I don't care. All of them gave an answer that at least attempted to be somewhat sympathetic to the people who care about this issue. And that's only because through 70 rallies and protests and vigils, through many letters, through many phone calls, through many conversations that you've had with people in your life about the injustices that these people have faced, that's why those answers are the way they are. It's because of your work and your advocacy that we've been able to move the needle with the public, with the electorate, and now with the candidates of at least one of the major parties running for president. So please, help us continue our advocacy on behalf of Justice for J6, our battle for election integrity, and our efforts to turn out to vote disaffected patriotic Americans of rural and blue-collar backgrounds by making a tax-deductible, non-disclosed contribution at lookaheadamerica.org. I'm Matt Brainerd, Executive Director of Look Ahead America, America First, America Forever.